everybody. Welcome back to the Boom and Freezer Show. I am your host, Scott Frost, a.k.a. The Freezer, and I've got my friend Bobby Boom right there. But real quickly, I need to thank one of our big partners, and it's the title sponsor of this episode and every episode in Season 4. It's Hilltop Promotions. It's one table, two players, one winner. In July 11th and 12th, it's Fedor Gorst versus Shane Van Boning in a race to 50 over 2 days, Bobby. 20,000 to the winner. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not too excited about the fact that I am your guest today. Somehow I continue to get talked into this, but we're doing it. Here we go.
We're doing it, Scott. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that event as well. SVB versus Fedor. It's going to be a lot of fun. Limited people there. Just going to be King of the Hill. Somebody's going to stay there and play again. It's absolutely great. Amazing. Hilltop Promotions. Shout out to those guys, of course, for the support. But Scott, I want to talk a little bit about you. I always want to talk about you. I know not only me, but the questions we get. I get so many questions on the page, and so do you and other people. And so many is about your life and your lifestyle, what you did. And for me, I didn't know you during those years, right? Yeah. So I've only known you for, close to the last 2-3 years. So I only know this part of you. And I know from people I talked to, and you were a little bit different when you were younger, right?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Okay.
I was, my father was pretty hard. He was a hard guy, right? And I think that I have all his characteristics, dark features. My brother was blonde. My sister's blonde. My mom is, blondish or was. So I had his features, and he was a boxer in the Navy for like a decade or longer, like a professional boxer, but he did other things in the Navy. But I think I have his DNA, and he was hardcore. He was born in 1921 and went through the Great Depression. And, he was a pretty serious guy. He was funny, though, in a real dry way, which is kind of how I am. If you get me, then you get me. But, yeah.
Right. And somehow we turn all that into the pool world, and that's the world I want to get into. I know we talked a little bit on the previous shows about playing basketball and how you started, but I want to get into the guts of it. You know what I mean? When you were younger, we talked about some of the stories that happened. Obviously, were real dangerous and hairy, but I know we talked about this a little while ago. About the where you grew up and where you started, the people that you first started hanging out with. Can you tell us about that? Because you just started playing pool from high school, right? You didn't have no history, no background, right?
No.
So you just, I know you talked a little bit about the club, but I want to talk about the people that actually got you to go into where you need to go. Can you talk about those people?
Yeah. It's tough to explain. It's a little... They weren't bad people. What happened, and I know I briefly mentioned this in another episode, and I'll try and quickly brush over this, but there was a private Italian poker room in Des Moines, but really the people had descended from other major cities like Chicago back in the day. I don't know what era that was. Maybe the late 70s, early 80s is when they kind of got, I wouldn't want to use the term ran out, but they all descended from Kansas City, Omaha, in Chicago, kind of, and Minneapolis, kind of towards in the middle, which was Des Moines. And they built a really nice private Italian poker room. And they had a couple of poker tables in there and a 9-foot table. But they would, of course, everything goes hand in hand. They would, of course, go to the pool room. And, I don't even remember an exact moment when they invited me to this club. But what really took place is I guess he's not even called the president, but I guess the owner of this club, he's passed away now. And he kind of took me under his wing, and he was connected to all which the people down south, the old school people will know these names. I can't say their names, but he was connected to the people that owned all the poker rooms down in the south, the legal poker rooms, the AmVets clubs. That's what they were called, as AmVets clubs. So the guy that ran this private Italian club in Des Moines, Iowa, was connected to these guys down there. And basically, I'm not saying they groomed me, but they were really good people. Like they had money, plenty of money, and they were family people as well, right? They were all married and had kids and nice homes and family. They just had a little different lifestyle. But that's kind of where, before I really had any partners, when I was really a kid, that's where I really kind of sowed my oats, I guess, or cut my teeth, I guess you would say, because I feel like it was about 19 when the owner of this club in Des Moines sent me to Birmingham, and I spent a year back and forth, probably 2 or 3 months at a time at their clubs with the people that own the clubs down there, who were also Italian people. And they would put me in places and take me to spots, and I was always safe. And then that's really where I cut my teeth, actually. The problem for me is, and we just did an episode with CJ Wiley not long ago. The problem for me is that, as you know, until like somebody like CJ says something or brings something up, for me, unless I really got to rack my brain and dive all the way back through how everything went, for me, it's all just a big blur. It really is. Like some of the really crazy major stuff sticks out, and it's not like I've forgotten about what I've done. I kind of have a crazy memory. I can remember every little thing, but I need to be sparked in that scenario, right? And so for me, it's a blur until I kind of get refreshed to that moment in time.
We're going to do that today, Scott. we're going to shake you up a little bit. We're just going to have a little friendly conversation like we do when we're off the air. You know what I mean? Like we do when they're off the air. Were you playing poker as well when they had the poker tables, or was it strictly pool?
No, I actually did play a little bit of poker, but not on my own money. I played split games pretty well. I was a very conservative player, but they'd give me the money to play. If they were short in the game, they'd put me in the game. I started dealing. I actually got my dealer's license. Where did I get my dealer's license? Oh my gosh. Where did I get my dealer's license? I think I got my dealer's license in Omaha or in Iowa. But I got my poker dealer's license. I went to a school. It was, I think, a 6-week school. But I dealt and I played. But really what ended up happening over time was I was more, they were making connections for me with the right people to just go stay at nice properties and then go to these areas that were doing well with the pool.
So you're basically focusing more on pool than poker, because it's real easy to go the other way, right? At that time in your life, because when you're dealing, you're making good money, right? I mean,
I was just never really interested in poker. It was too slow for me. Even to this day, if I were to go play poker, which I did for a period of time after I'd beat Efren at one point, it was like dead. Pool was dead. It's just really slow. I don't play a lot of hands. I'm not joking. I might sit there for 8 to 10 hours and play 6 hands. Like, I'm very conservative, believe it or not, which is odd because I used to fire so much shooting dice or playing blackjack. So, yeah, I wasn't really into, I mean, I didn't mind it, but I felt like you could get beat too easily playing poker. I just didn't care for it.
Did you ever feel not safe with those guys? I know you said that they protected you kind of.
I was really safe. I was in pretty good hands there. That's one thing. But the other thing was they were classy people, right? They were very classy people and well-respected people. Very well-respected people.
At one time, you never felt little every time.
Not when I was with them. Not when I was when I was with them. They were kind of rolled out the red carpet for these guys. What's the guy's name? The Snake, pro football player, Hall of Famer from Alabama, Hall of Famer, old school. Gosh. I used to spend some time with him. Big famous guy. You'd know his name. Hold on real quick.
Alabama.
Let me look it up. Let me see. This, I believe it was the Snake. Football player.
And how old you got away from them and started doing your own thing?
Ken Stabler.
Ken Stabler, the Snake. I hear you say the Snake. From the quarterback from Oakland.
Yeah. They had a strip club. I'm just going to be honest. They had a
Yeah,
strip club.
we're gonna talk about that too.
They had a strip club down there called Sammy's, and it was only about 3 miles from the main poker room, the main Ambeps club, which is I would stay there and I'd stay at the boss's home or boss's property as well. But the boss was really pretty good friends with Ken Stabler, so we would meet in the VIP set. I'm not even old enough to go in there, but you know they were
How old are you at the time?
they
19?
kind of had the golden key to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, you were what, 19?
Yeah.
18, 19?
I wasn't 21 yet.
Right.
I'm positive of that. So I was either 19 and 20, like 19
Okay.
and 20. Yeah.
Okay. And then when did you step aside and start going on your own? At what age? You were already pretty good by the time you were 20, right? You're starting to play pretty good.
Yeah, it was around there. I mean, like I said, I went back and forth. The first time I took that trip and went to Chicago, then I went to St. Louis, and then I came back and bought the Suburban and the walleye boat. I was around 20 at that time as well. So it was all, I was just never really home. It was all kind of, I would spend a few months there, then I'd come back home, right? And then I'd go do something there. But down south, when I was down in Birmingham, it was more a little bit different, right? I would go down there and kind of like steal the money. I wasn't playing good players. What I mean by that is there was a couple, rest in peace, to Jim and Judy Morlock. And they had, and I cannot remember this mountain, but it was in Gadsden, Alabama. And they had a beautiful ranch, and I was connected to them from the people with the Ambets Club. And they were like a 60-year-old couple back then. They had a beautiful home, and he was a huge like trophy rooster fighter and a giant bookmaker. But they had an in to getting me into this bar in Chattanooga where these guys would play 50 and 100 a game 8-ball, no matter who you were, till your wheels fell off. And so I would stay at their house, and they would take me to this bar who they knew who Jim and Judy Morlock were. So I was in good hands, and I just got to play 100 a game 8-ball every day till my feet fell off.
Just build a huge bankroll. Just keep rolling.
Yeah, I would win 500 to 1,500 every day, right? Every single day, right? And then on days where they got their paychecks, they would even bet more, and it was actually just a really good time. Mind you, I still wasn't old enough to be in these places, but back then it was different, man. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because even back then, the old timers were telling me it was different back then, before. So it's weird now, like everything's so different now. But yeah.
So explain to everybody out there. This is the part that a lot of us don't understand, and I'm going to include myself in that, right? So you're playing in Iowa, now you're going on the road. You transfer, somebody hands you over to somebody. Who is that, and how do you know that person? And again, I got to go to the comfort again, because I know you feel comfortable with these people that you're staying with in Iowa, but now you're going to somebody else totally different. How do you handle that, and who is it, and what's your mindset?
Well, I felt comfortable immediately. Like when I was going, they're all a family, right? They're an Italian family. Like they're all connected in one way or another. So anytime those people, I gained their trust I was 17 when I started playing and sneaking into the pool room. So that immediately, I was around those people in the pool room right then and there. So I got to know them. It's hard to explain, but anybody that they put me with was vetted, right? They were vetted and kind of part of the family, and that's just how it was. I, though, learned pretty quick, right? I listened to what they all said, and I was very, very conscientious of how to operate and how they operated and how they treated everybody with respect, and they were reciprocated with great respect. So anybody that I went with was connected to their families down the line one way or another, and they were actually successful people. They weren't looking to rob me. They were looking to protect me and put money in my pocket. And really that's what they did, because when I remember most now, and they were such good people. I don't even remember them, unless we're betting a lot higher, ever taking any of the money I won.
That was the question. How much would they take?
I don't remember them ever taking any of the money I won, unless I was betting like a bigger number, which I don't remember with them. They were more the type of people that wanted a sure win. They didn't really and like I said, I was cutting my teeth. So they would just put me in positions in bars and places where I just wasn't going to lose. And they had plenty of money. Like here's a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid that they're not going to take 300 of my $900. These guys had real money. But I think for them, it was a little bit more looking back. And I know even then it was more for entertainment purposes for them, right? It was an entertainment purpose, and it kind of went with the life they lived, and
Yep.
they enjoyed it, right? They enjoyed it.
Kind of showing you off a little bit for sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
But we had fun, right?
Yes.
It was fun. I can tell you this story. I can tell you a story. The boss, I don't remember the whole story, but there is one time the boss of the club in Des Moines, the Italian club in Des Moines was called South Shore, and it ended up burning down, but under an insurance deal, I think. I'm pretty sure. But there was another private Italian club in Des Moines, and they kept having these. There were some pretty nasty battles. One was telling on the other, one was trying to get the other one closed down. One got raided, the other one. It was a little rough.
Anyway, back and forth.
Yeah, but the boss, he was very successful guy. He had several businesses, very successful guy. He would like to take me, just me and him, and he had a Panama City. He had a condo on the beach in Panama City, and we're down there. And he asked me if there was some tournament going on at Mr. Q's in Atlanta. And I'll never forget this, but I don't exactly remember why we got in the argument. He asked me if I wanted to go up there and try and gamble. And he and I had never made an actual road trip. Anywhere we went, we flew, right? We'd fly to Birmingham and stay at his place there, and then we'd go. So we jump in his Cadillac and we take this drive. And I can't remember how long this drive was from Panama City to Atlanta. I think it was a pretty good drive. I know it was over 10 hours, I believe anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. But we get there, and I specifically remember him telling me that he didn't want me playing this certain guy. And I typically did what he said, but I argued him, and I kept arguing him. And he never really drank, and I'll never forget this. And at this time now, I think he was he was upper 60s, maybe 70 years old. So he's getting up there, but he was a big guy actually, too. He was like, he was 6'3", very distinguished, clean cut guy. Yep. And not a guy you really want to make angry.
Yeah.
But I'd never really seen him angry, right? And we've been around each other for many years, a few years at least. So we drive all the way to Mr. Q's in Atlanta, and I can't exactly remember why we got into this argument, but we didn't really get in an argument. He got mad at me. But I kind of went against what he said, and he said, "I don't want to cuss on here, so I'm not going to cuss on here." But he said, "You know what?" My nickname back then was the Kid. He said, "You know what, Kid? You can F off, and I'm leaving you. Don't you ever effing call me again." Blah 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 blah. And he was mad, right? In front of
for real. He was mad.
I thought he was just briefly mad, just going to hang out outside or something.
Right.
He left me. He absolutely left me. Completely left me. He drove back.
Yeah. 10 hours or whatever it was. How did you get back?
I ended up flying back he ended up getting me a flight and flying me back to Des Moines. And he didn't talk to me until he flew back to Des Moines, and he asked me to come in and talk to him. And I thought he was going to, He actually apologized for leaving me. but that was the only time around them that I was ever really scared, because that was really the first time I was by myself. I had a little money. I figured it out. I don't even remember what happened that night, but it was the very next day I flew back home.
Yeah. Was this, you said it was something something that you played you weren't supposed to, or something like that? Do you think that's what
I got pretty smart with him. I got pretty smart with him, and he, it was over me playing somebody. And I can't remember, just telling the truth, I can't remember if I'd already played the guy or if I hadn't played him and wanted to play the guy. But whatever it was completely against what Cliff, or his name was Cliff, I won't say his last name. Whatever it was completely against what Cliff wanted me to do. Yeah.
That's
And I
great.
was that way kind of at times, but not really with them. I would just have a little fun.
All right. So you go back. You guys talk about it. He apologizes, right? And
Yeah,
then
I thought he was going to whack me, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. You weren't sure, right? You had to
No,
be not sure, right? Because you never know. You get into an
no,
atmosphere.
I know he's not going to. I
No,
figured
not
maybe
that. But I mean, you don't know how mad he's going to
scold me or
be.
something,
Yeah, yeah. No,
but
yeah.
we were good. Thank God, because I loved going to this club. It was such a fun club. You'd go in there, they're all dead now. That's the thing, right? They're all gone and dead, right? That era of people really aren't around anymore, and the ones that were around those people know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're not really around anymore, and a lot of them weren't bad people. And a lot of them actually were really, really, really good people.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah.
All right. So let's go to the next step. All right. All right. So now you're pretty much, where do you go from there? Right? Are you decide now at that point? Do you think, all right, I can do this on my own? Or I know we always talk when you and I talk, Scott. We always talk about your handlers or somebody that goes. What do you call them? And then when they go show you the road, you know who
Yeah.
they are. Yeah.
Well, steermen, right?
Right, steerman.
We
So you're going to
steermen.
go see your steerman, right? So how do you start getting from that Iowa area to the pool world steering people? How does that happen?
Well, I kind of did everything by myself until I got with, and my time frames are so bad.
Yeah.
They're so bad. Until I got with the first guy I ever really, really got with was Marshall Carpenter, Squirrel. But you're asking me how I did that. I mean, you really gain all your experience in your local pool room, right? I was dead in the middle of all these cities, so the benefit to that was that I could get anywhere in the Midwest in 6, 7, 8 hours. Kansas City was 3 hours, Chicago was 5 hours, Minneapolis was 4 hours, Omaha, Nebraska was 3 hours, right? So I could get to any of these cities, and I just started branching out on my own. I always had a vehicle, so I would just go on my own a lot of times. But
And
I was a sucker back then. I was a sucker. When I wasn't
really?
with the right people, yeah, my nickname, I forgot I had this here. I was talking about this last time. I had this sitting right here with me. So this is One Pocket. That's Iowa. This is, my
Legit.
God, this is old. I should have kept the stickers on it. It's been somewhere, and I just came across it a couple of weeks ago. So this says One Pocket, obviously. But the whole point to being a sucker is I wasn't a sucker as much as I was fearless, right? I just wanted to get better, and I love competition. So I was like up your ass with the spot, right? Like I didn't really care about the spot, right? I actually took it personal when somebody offered me a spot. When I was really young and trying to get better, I just took it personal until I got seasoned and realized, and I improved in this compact 3-year period. So I was a sucker. Like, we can go into the story about how I lost my dad's cue business or my cue business, but I got this license plate as soon as I started playing One Pocket, because I had realized about a year into when I was playing, and I could play 9-ball, but I realized that everybody wanted to play One Pocket that had money, and
Money, yeah, absolutely.
And there was more or less luck and more skill to the game, with much more depth to it, right? So I started playing it, and I thought that I was the best in the world. I just thought I was.
When you get your own license plate that says One Pocket, that's like the anti what you're not supposed to do on the road, right? That's the one.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and listen, I'm a kid. I'm an actual kid. I have only been playing pool like a year and a half at this point. I think it was around 18, right? And I had this Yukon that was a little bit like lifted, and it just pulled my little boat. I had a little crappy boat at the time, and I'd started playing the game, and I got the bug. I just absolutely loved the game, and I knew that there was money in it. And I always had that dream of getting better, and so I just thought I was. But I'm growing up in small town Des Moines, Iowa, and I still couldn't beat a lot of the locals there, but I was more talented than they were. So I just knew it was a matter of time. So I got this. I just loved the game so much that I had a One Pocket license plate. But my nickname back then in this area, because there was a tournament in Olathe, Kansas that was really big at shooters, and they just had one not long ago. But my nickname was the Go Off Kid from Des Moines, and I would, because I didn't want a spot. Like I just didn't want a spot. I just felt like, that
Wanted to
wasn't.
win.
I
You
felt like
wanted to
that
win.
wasn't do me any good getting a handicap. Like I wasn't playing basketball with people getting a handicap, right? I didn't even really understand it at the time until I got a little bit more seasoned, and then I was like, oh, geez. But I had to take my licks, and that's what happened to me. It started. Word got out that there was this kid in Des Moines, Iowa, who thinks he's good, and he seems to come up with money,
Yeah.
and and his license plate says one pocket.
So you got every one pocket
So
player looking at you.
So you might want to get there quickly. Yeah.
All right. So what are you, 21 at that point? 22?
No.
You're not even 21?
This is still before I'm 21. Yeah, by the time I was 21, I was playing I improved really quickly.
Okay.
I was probably, when I'm talking about the one pocket era, that's 18, 19.
Okay. All right. And what made that switch? Was it losing so much, or was it just the desire to be the best, or money?
Taking a couple big beatings, right? I didn't realize that people could really be hustled. And when Richie Richardson come to town, and I shouldn't have just said his name because a lot of people know who he is. He's a legend, and we need him on the show. I know you don't really know who he is, Bobby, and that's okay. You're from the East Coast; it's a little different.
Well, I know a lot of the people listening are going to know who he is.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So this guy comes to Des Moines, Iowa, and I was always kind of a business-minded guy. My whole family's business-minded. So I talked to my father. My father, just so people know, my father didn't like support me and just hand me money. This didn't happen. I ended up getting busted on my 18th birthday because I was doing whatever I could to get money to play pool. My mom lived on a golf course. Did I tell that story? I did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So long story short is, trust me, I did some bad things to get money to lose playing pool because I loved pool so much. On my 18th birthday, I got in trouble and I worked my tail off. I don't have a record. Since then, I've never been in trouble as far as that's concerned. But I'd finally realized that I loved pool cues. And so I talked my dad into bankrolling me a cue business because I was selling a bunch of cues and making a little bit of money. And so I bought 30 cues from a guy that was coming in the pool a lot, and he took me to my first junior nationals. He just happens to be the largest cue collector probably in America. His name is Rick Golden, and Rick knows. Rick won't have a problem. He's literally like a father to me. Anyway, so I bought 30 cues from him and started this little business out of the pool room that I was playing at. And one day, this guy comes in town, and he tells me his name's Benny. Well, he comes in town. He comes in the pool room and says, "Anybody looking to play some pool?" And somebody told me this guy was over there looking to play some pool, and I go running over to him, and I'm like, "I'm looking to play. What do you want to play?" "I'm looking to play." He's like, "Well, I'll play you some 9-ball. I'll play you some 9-ball." Right. If you know Richie,
you can still see it right in your right.
Yeah, it's brutal. But we played 300 a set, and I think I lost like 2,700 in cash to him. In nine,
Yeah.
and he broke me. I was out of cash. But I had this big case or two big cases of cues, and then I had a couple of square cases of cues in the back. And
These are all the cases. These are all the cues that you bought. Were trying to get your business to sell, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were playing on the main table. And I'll never forget it. Yeah. He says, "Well, have you ever played one pocket?" And I said, "No, I can't remember exactly how this went." I said, "No, I don't want to play. I just don't want to play." And I had been playing one pocket at the time. I had the one pocket license plate on my truck. But
he knew this. He knew this too.
Of course, that's why he was there all along, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of a sick story. First off, he tells me he's Gary, and he's Bankin' Benny from Gary, Indiana. That's his name. He says, "My name's Benny, Bankin' Benny, and I'm from Gary, Indiana." I'm like, "Oh God, that's great. Sounds right." So I lose at 2,700, and he somehow gets me hyped up about playing one pocket, which I thought I was great at. I thought I was hustling him, right? So I was kind of slow playing him, but I didn't have cash, and I had to figure out a way to get cash to play him, and I couldn't get it. Nobody in there would give me any money to play this guy. Everybody knew I was probably getting robbed, but they were going to let me take my licks. So I come out of the back room with this big, thin, long case that holds like 8 cues or maybe 12 cues. I can't remember. And the table next to us, the pool table next to us that we're playing on, is empty. And so I just lay it out there, open it up, and I point at the first one and I said, well, how much will you put up for this one? We'll play a game right now, right? And he said, I don't know what he said. I can't remember. I'm not going to lie about figures. And he said, let's say he said 300, and the cue was probably worth 500, right? And I couldn't wait. I said, all right, 300 is, put it up. And I pull the cue out, and we'd set it on the table, and he'd put the 300 on the light, and we'd run over there and flip the coin for the break. And
Bank and Benny.
Bank and Benny proceeded to beat me every game by one ball. And I would continue to tell people that were watching this match, and I can only imagine, they're much older and wiser than me. I can only imagine what's going through their mind. But I'm like, I know I can beat this guy, right? He continues to beat. I had him beat that game, and I'm convinced. I'm convinced that I can beat this guy. And he laid it down really, really well. So another cue goes, another cue goes, another cue goes, and I'm literally, this is true story. Literally, I'm through like most of my cue collection, and I don't know that I maybe won one or two games, right? But he was just slaughtering me. He didn't need to lose any games to me. He knew I was a completely through ticket, and that's what it was. So my dad got there just at the end. It was too late. Somebody called my dad and wanted him to come down and stop it from happening. Anyway, he beats me out of everything. I think I get like 2 cues left. I was freaking devastated, absolutely devastated. Well, about 6 months later was this tournament in Detroit called the Legends of One Pocket, right? It's a true story. My God, I'll never forget it. And I remember seeing the flyer, the paper flyer for this tournament, like not long after Richie had beat me. I didn't know it was Richie Richardson yet. But I see this flyer in my own pool room, so I start training for the Legends of One Pocket. I'd never been to a big one pocket tournament, and I'm going to go, right? So I start training and saving my dollars, and I've got and by this time, I had to earn my own money. I wasn't stealing anything or doing anything bad. I was 19, going on 20 years old. And so this whole time goes by. I hadn't seen or heard of Bank and Benny, and I'm training to go to this Legends of One Pocket, and I'll never forget. So it's the day before the tournament starts. And so I pack my car up and I go straight to Detroit. And I'll never forget it. It's a 12-hour drive, right? So from Des Moines, Iowa to Detroit, it's a 12-hour drive, and I drive straight there. By the time I get there, it's nighttime, drove straight through, and I walk in, and I can't get 30 feet in the building, and they're all on me like flies on rice. Hey, you want to play? You want to play? You want to play? You want to play? Right? And this old man comes up to me and asks me to play. This is on my father's grave, true story. This old man comes up to me, and he kind of looks like a clown. Like, I'm not being rude, but he kind of looked like a clown. He had hair on the sides, curly hair on the sides, and then bald. And I'm like, out of all these guys that are asking me to play, that's the guy I want to play, right? And so I end up playing him. And I had like 2,200 on me. And I think that's exactly what I had on me. And the guy beat me. He beat me senseless, and he broke me before I could pay my entry fee. But as we're playing, they're doing the Calcutta. They're doing the Calcutta for the Legends in One Pocket, right? Yeah. And I think they did 3 blind bids for this Calcutta. And I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in there, but I would see every now and then somebody walk up to the auctioneer and give him money. And I'm like, what is going on here? All of a sudden, I hear this guy say Richie Richardson, but I see this guy walk right by me and go up and hand this money. And I'm like, that's that guy that beat me.
Bank and Benny.
That's Bank and Benny. He told me his name was Bank and Benny, and the guy just said, all right, Richie Richardson, 3rd blind pick for whatever money, right? not only did I realize I'd been had, which I think I probably realized that anyway. I don't know, but this was like a waking moment for me. But not only did I realize I'd been had right then and there, but I had this 65 or 70-year-old man drilling my nuts in, and I'm just about dead broke there
Yeah.
too. And I do go broke, and I'm so devastated that I find out the guy is Cornbread Red, Jimmy
Right.
Burge, right? I'm so devastated that I turn around and drive straight back home. I asked him for 200 to get back home. I didn't sleep. I took it so badly that I was fooled by Richie and that this guy beat me that I just drove straight back home. Now imagine, it was literally like 6 months that I'd been dreaming of going to this tournament, and it lasted like 3 hours.
Wow.
That's how I was. I was just sick like that. Yeah.
But that had to be some kind of like wake up call. Would you say was that a turning point in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I was bad. I had a lot of bad lessons. I mean, but that was a big one. Yeah, for sure. That drive back was humbling, very humbling, right? I was like, Jesus, I thought I was really good. I thought I was really good, right? But I was on my way. Like everybody back then said, this dude's got a ton of natural talent. He really probably can't be stopped. But I'd only been playing like 2.5 years. I'm trying to play the top guys in the sport.
You're playing the guys that have been playing their whole lives, especially one pocket as well.
Yeah. So the drive back sucked. Yeah, I took some big bruises, but it was for the best. It was for the best. I started to like analyze everything that was happening and started changing my decisions.
When did you start turning it around, Scott? Was it a little bit after that, or did you obviously take some more beatings? Or
yeah. I mean, I took many beatings, right? I would go to Lake Kansas and still take beatings, but I was a little bit more careful, right? I think it really started turning around 21, 22. Really started like turning then. Like I started to come together a little bit more. I didn't know what defense was, right? Even playing one pocket, like I just fired at everything, and I was a straight shooter. The thing about me was I ran the balls really well. So when I started to kind of learn the other side of it, I think things really started clicking as far as being able to understand the game a little bit more, understand the defensive side, understand a little bit more about patience, and then really understand that I didn't have to play everybody even, right? That's just not how it works back then. You can play people even for cheap, but when you're losing thousands and thousands of dollars, now I had this advantage. What I'd realized is that I was a sucker and everybody knew it. Now I had this advantage of having that image, and I could kind of reverse it on them. And that's what I started to do.
Make a little bit back, a little bit at a time from almost everybody.
Yeah, right? Well, it was pretty quick. Yeah. I like jumped some levels pretty quickly. I think like Whitey Walker, he's still alive. Joe Wolford just passed away, rest his soul. These are two young, good players up in that area, up in like Bergman knows them. Justin Bergman knows them very well. Whitey Walker talks about it. He says it seems like there were several players back then. They said it seemed like it was literally overnight where my game went from like a good player to like they didn't even recognize me. So I don't know how quick it happened, but it was quick.
Yeah. And like I said, it's probably because of those lessons that you learned, because back then people weren't teaching you how to play, right? We talk about this all the time on the podcast, Scott. It's not like you can watch tons of videos on YouTube. There's not people telling you corner, oh, you could have done this, you should have done this. This is all feel and learn, correct?
It is, yeah. But I did have one guy that was an ex-world champion that owned that poker that I grew up in, or that I played in, Don McCoy. Right. And he wouldn't play with anybody. And he was kind of connected to the poker room as well in those people. And he took me under his wing. So I did spend months and months with him. We met at noon every day, 5 days a week. And to where the pool room wasn't busy, he'd be out of there before people started coming in because they'd get jealous that I was training with him. So we'd start at noon and he'd be out of there by like 5 or 6 every single day. And we would play cheap, and the number that I ended up owing him out of the gate was huge, but that started to turn quickly. That was part of the plan.
Of course.
Yeah.
Get you on the right path.
To give you an idea, Cliff Joyner played him even one pocket, and they played for like 16 hours in Olathe back when I was 18, 19 years old. And Cliff was the best American player. If not, he was right under Efren, and they broke even. They were playing 300 a game. They played like 15, 16 hours. I sat there for every minute, and they broke even. And Don finally quit. He said, "I think both of us could find a little better game in here." And so they Cliff was like, "Yeah, I think you're probably right." And they
Yeah, right.
But that just gave you an idea how great a player this guy was. He was a world-class player.
Right. Nice. Well, you gotta have somebody in your corner. But I'm just saying, when you went to all the rooms and everything, people weren't grabbing your ear and trying to teach you that much. Or
Oh no,
one guy.
no,
Yeah.
nobody, no, never, no.
All right. When did you realize, or did you realize, or is it, this wasn't a normal life? I mean, you grew up with like you said, all professional people. You know what I mean? Your dad was stern. You're out there playing pool. You got the boss over there. You're traveling. You got left at a pool hall 10 hours away. At any point in your life, or did you realize that this maybe isn't normal?
Quickly, like right away. The first, I probably had that feeling the first time I snuck in the pool room. Right, that first time we went in and the guy hustled me for the $22. I noticed it wasn't normal, but I think that's what attracted me to it. I feel like it was just always in my blood, and it was maybe supposed to happen. I kind of feel that's how it is.
And that was kind of like my next question. So being it's a little different, I don't want to call it, it could be abstract, whatever you want to call it. It's different, right? Well, what did attract you to it? The noise, the money, the competition? I mean, I know you're competitive, but what was the main thing that really pulled you into the sport and really sucked your whole life into it?
No, it was just the competition. It was fully that, because I took everything I had from basketball and then went because I was always but I played baseball, basketball, football, soccer year round. So I just was an active person, but I was competitive, really competitive. My father was very competitive. Uh, Everybody in my family is very competitive. My sister's very successful. My brother's very successful. Even today, I just went back. We can't do anything without like trying to compete at something. Even our words, we're competing at our words. So that's what it was for me. I loved the one-on-one feel, right? Like the one-on-one competition. It's just you and your opponent. Um, I really liked it. I really liked
Is that what made it different, like from basketball and football and everything else? Is the one-on-one?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I just said that. I never really thought about it, but I think that's, you're in a participation sport. You don't have the ball the whole time, right? Of course, and which I get, right? I loved basketball. I loved all the sports, but this you're kind of in control the whole time. Well, you understand what I mean. It's you and just one other opponent. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your main characters in your life. If you were going to write a book, if you were going to have a movie, tell your stories, I want to know some of who would be your main characters, like besides you growing up from the 21 to like say 40 age, 20 years. Who are those main characters? And can you give us a couple stories of any of those characters? They don't have to be pool related, because obviously in the pool world, you're connected to different people, right? You're already talking about a poker room and all that stuff. The people you meet aren't all great at pool, right? You meet different people, correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I mean, if I was to do some type of a movie where it would all really start where my career started out, the characters that were in this Italian club were just insane. It was crazy. Um, the two guys, they were brothers in Birmingham. They owned all the private clubs. They were characters. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to say about these people. They were characters. I'll be honest. They were pretty good at sleight of hand and talking to people and owning businesses, and they were hustlers on another level, right? Like on a whole nother level. A real whole nother level. I mean, like the private Italian poker room that I was in was really, really nice. It was a couple of levels, like literally physically. These guys were successful people driving nice cars, nice homes. But
Well,
as far as the characters, go ahead.
yeah, we were talking to CJ. You're talking about card mechanics, right? If you know, do you know any card mechanics, or do you travel with any, or do you see any of them? You know, road mechanics, card mechanics. Can you talk about any of those?
Yeah, so was connected to this poker room. Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of how and I knew each other from competition, but he knew these people at this private club. I don't know how or why or whatever. I just remember that they knew each other very well. Brother-in-law, got him. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. I don't think I'll get in trouble for this. Forgives me for everything now. I've put him through hell in the last 15, 20 years. He's kind of like my dad. So brother-in-law was, at the time, back in the 70s and 80s, he was known amongst the card cheats or mechanics as the best, His name was and so do you want me to tell this story?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Where was I? I was through the South, and the boss of this poker room said, "Listen, I didn't know at the time it was brother-in-law." The boss of the poker room calls me and says, "Listen, you're going to pick this guy up from the airport, and he's going to show you a couple of things." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, he's a card guy. He's just going to show you a couple of things, but you're in an area right now that he wants to be in." And so, long story short, I was in Lafayette, Louisiana. I think it's Chris Miller's room is still around there. But anyway, there was a private poker game, big private poker game down in that area. We never made it to this private poker game. But I picked this guy up from the airport, and all I knew was to do everything he said. I'm just a kid. He's the adult. He's like one of the best ever at doing things with cards. So pick him up at the airport, and I'll never forget this. I had, I think, a lot of money on me at the time. I think I had 10 to 12,000 on me at the time, and I'm thinking this guy is going to make me look like a joke as far as money's concerned. So I pick him up at the airport, and here he comes. He had 2 suitcases and then another big carry-on, 2 big suitcases and a big carry-on. And here he comes, and I'll never forget him. He's only about 5'2", right? He's coming like this.
All this big ass luggage.
He had a big pot belly, right, and gray hair, and looked like a freaking gangster. And he's coming out of this airport, and I think it was New Orleans airport. And I help him get in the car, and he was a strange person. He was a little different, right? But his whole life was dedicated to beating like high profile people out of money. He had beat the Italians in New York. I'm not going to say what they're called. He beat the Italians in New York out of a massive number, and his percentage going into that deal was 1%. This is a true story, and it was millions of dollars he beat them out of. They're all gone now, so I can talk about this. So anyway, I pick him up, and I'm like, we're going down the road, and I cannot remember if this is like 2002, 2003, or 2004, because I feel like we had pagers, or maybe we were still using payphones. But he's like, all right, we're going to have to find a room when we get close to Lafayette. I'm like, okay. Never once have we, he asked me how much money I had. Never once am I going to open up and be like, well, how much money do you got? He's my elder, and I'm listening to what he's got to say.
You're told to do a job, and you're going to do it at this point.
Right.
Yes.
So we're going down the road, and I feel like we're just coming into Lafayette, and there was a pool room there that I wanted to be at too. So that's why this all happened. And he sees this hotel, and he goes, there, that's the one. Let's go get a room. So we pull up. He jumps out of the car. He runs into this hotel, and it's like he's in there forever, it seemed like. I'm not joking. I'll never forget this dude. I almost can remember the song that's playing as I'm sitting in this car. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm with this guy I don't even know. He's got 3 suitcases, supposed to be the best card cheat in the world, and I just want to play pool, right? And he comes out. It seems like it's been a year. He comes out, and he comes to my side, and he goes like this. And I'm like, he goes, give me some money. Give me some money. Give me some money. And I'm like, huh? And I go, what do you mean? Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to take care of everything, right? I go, what do you mean? He goes, give me about 1,200. And I'm like, I really was like in shock. My heart dropped. My heart sank because I immediately knew this guy didn't have any money, right? And I'm like, well, I don't want to question him because he's a hard dude to begin with, right? And I don't want to question, but I had to. I'm like, I said, well, what do we need 1,200 for, right? And I'm probably like cowering down a little bit.
Yeah.
And he goes, a room for you, a room for me, and a room that I need to work out of, plus 3 nights. And I'm like, what's going on, dude? He needed a room for himself. He didn't want me staying with him. So that's 2 rooms.
Yep.
And then he needed a separate room for him to practice his craft or put his craft together or whatever he was doing, right? And I was sick, right? I was disgusted.
You had to peel out 1,200.
I did peel out 1,200.
You peeled it out.
Oh, I was just the ride from New Orleans to this hotel was enough to just run me away, right? The guy he was a little goofy, but for a reason. Like he was a genius in a lot of ways, just different guy. But anyway,
different lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I had to peel out 1,200. So his biggest downfall was his biggest upfall, right? Or his biggest strong suit. He was one of the greatest in the world at cheating and with cards, but he had a huge gambling problem on the square. So he could go beat a guy out of 50,000 or beat a poker game out of $500,000, and in a month he'd be dead broke. He'd go to the casino and just play the one-armed bandits until he was broke, until he was dead broke. But I think this was his life cycle, right? He got off going and cheating these people, and that was like something that turned him on, and it was a challenge to him. And once he did that, that rush was over, and he would go to get rid of the money as soon as he could on the square. Like this is just what he was known throughout the country for doing this. And
probably did it for many years.
People that are listening probably aren't in that era, but if anybody knows who I'm talking about, say something in the comments, because if you were in that era, you don't have anything to hide. He's long gone. But everybody in that era back then, from every part of the country, every corner of the planet, knew who this guy was, in America anyway. So needless to say, we get the hotel room, and I'll never forget it. I could not wait to get to the room and call Cliff and yell at both of them. I was so over this.
Brother, right?
Yeah. It's his brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law.
And both of them told me to stop. They told me to just listen to what he had to say. Meanwhile, we sat there for 3 days. The 1,200 I spent, we sat there for 3 days. He never got into this game in Lafayette. I ended up having to buy him a plane ticket to get out of there. And I couldn't ever been happier. But he did show me a couple of things over those 3 days. He tried to get me to read Dob and Shade, and those are little marks that you put in the cards, and you got to train your eye to do it. And he showed me some other stuff, and I'd been around many other mechanics in my life. I just never went into games and beat them personally myself. I never did do that. I didn't need to do that.
Did you get the 1,200 back?
No, the hotel got that money. No chance.
Well, no, maybe you can. I don't know.
No chance. No chance. Yeah, there was a lot of like wild goose chases like that led to absolutely nowhere. That's typically why you ended up going on your own unless you were with another elite player.
Right. How often did you travel with on the road?
We didn't really partner up. I know it's kind of complicated. We didn't really partner up until I'd beaten him like the 4th or 5th time. And then it was Galveston. So if you know when that pro event was in Galveston, that's probably 20 years ago. More than that, probably now. Erica would know. Every time we matched up, I'd give him like 11-6, and he got to move a ball to the spot after the break. But he was great action, and he had money, and he's still around. I call him a sucker, and he was smart. Everybody gives him credit for being so smart, but I always just outran it. And everywhere we went, I would just annoy him so much that he'd play me. And we'd play 500 a game, and I'd beat him out of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 every time we played. and we were in Mobile, Alabama. It was the last time we ever played. I beat him out of 12,000, and he was like, he threw his cue, and he just had enough of it. He kept saying I was getting lucky. He couldn't stand the shots I was shooting, and that I was an idiot. And, the same stuff he would tell me over and over, how stupid I am. But I continued to make the shots and continued to take his money, right? So like a few months went by, and there was this big tournament in Galveston, Texas, and Jeremy Jones and all the guys, Shannon, Nello, Brumback, they'll all remember it. Big tournament, had a big one pocket tournament. It was kind of like a derby. But this was probably 22, 23 years ago. It was 20 to 21 years ago. I'd been with her 3 months when this tournament happened, and I'd taken her with me. So it was like 20, just about 21 years.
2005.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And her and I just get our bags into our hotel room, and we're like laying down. We're just laying down, relaxing for a minute. I never forget how big the mosquitoes were there. The mosquitoes were like softballs. They were massive. It was the worst for mosquitoes. But anyway, my hotel room phone rings. And it's a true story. My hotel room phone rings. So I don't even know how he knew I was there. But I pick up the phone. I said, hello. And it was. And he said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm here this trip. I got a pocket full of money, but we're going to be partners instead of play each other now. And so that's what ended up happening. We ended up becoming partners. He didn't want to go against me anymore. And he felt like, with how I was playing, that I was really starting to come into my own at that time. I was still a kid, but he felt like he would do better with me versus against me. So we partnered up. And I mean, he really is a really smart guy. I think the world of Billy. Genius and classy guy.
Give us any stories with him that you did really good on the road, or you had a rough time with him? Anything really good? Because I know you guys have a lot of stories together with him, right?
Boy, yeah. I mean, I went up to Seattle. I mean, he wouldn't go with me a lot of places, right? He would just send me to places. It wasn't really good when you went. It didn't work like that, right? If you could handle yourself, it was better that you went by yourself. Two's a crowd sometimes, but the biggest score we made together was when we beat Biffer out of that 1.2 million. That wasn't all ours, but we made upwards of around 800,000, I think, our end. But I made him, I'd spent a month in Seattle playing Harry Plattis and a bunch of people up there. I just don't know why that was a little later in my career. I'm 50, so I was coming into my 30s right then, right? So I'd been beaten up to that point. So that was a little later in my career. I really was kind of towards the end of my career mentally, from words of others that I was around, that once I hit 40, I wasn't going to be able to make a ball. And that kind of got ingrained in my mind. And I had always had a plan. Once I turned 40, I was just going to walk away from pool and open some type of business and move on, because I didn't want to go down as somebody that was trying to play and couldn't execute the way I used to. That was always a really big thing for me. I did not want to embarrass myself going out.
Yeah, well, I don't think you can ever embarrass yourself, Scott. I mean, but I do want to talk about this, because this is something that, because you're relatively young. I mean, they have so many great players like yourself that are still trying to compete. We have them right here on this podcast. People like Earl Strickland, Efren Reyes, they are still playing in all these events, right? Where you, or me and the outside looking in, it seems like you, whatever point it was, when I'd like to talk about that a little bit too, is you decided to do something different with your life, right? You decided to be professional, and you're going to do, like, look at all those beautiful lights behind you real quick. Give a shout out to our sponsors. You got the Teom, of course, the best chalk in the business, right? Jay Flowers, great cues. PNW pool thing.
Yeah. Big time Jay Flowers, man. They've been so great to me, and they know I don't even play, right? But I do play. I actually just filmed for a couple of days yesterday at a friend's studio, which people will hear about that. But I do love their cue, the SMO shaft. It's wood and carbon, and that's what got me drawn to them. But then you see PNW. Where's my finger down here?
Yeah,
all the way up on the far end, the white side.
On the white, with the white. Yep.
Pacific Northwest pool thing. And if they get a chance, I would really appreciate people going to PNW Pool on YouTube. Also, if you want signs or pool table lights, PNW Pool on YouTube or Facebook, you can reach out to Jesse Johnson or Stephanie. They do great work. But yeah, I made it
billiards as well. There's no light behind. Don't forget about classic. Can't forget about our guy Dave Fertosiak, the man.
Yeah, the beard, the beard.
Yeah,
I made a change like around 40. In June of 2016, I played Efren, and then in 2017 I built freezers, and I kind of just felt like I was going to retire. I did leading up to that though. That's how I always felt. Like I was on the road with James Walden, and James would always say that when he turns 40, he's done playing pool. He knows that when you hit 40, your nerves go, your eyes start to go. And he had me really starting to believe it. Not that I fully believed that, because when I got closer to 40, I was like, oh, I can still play. But I still kind of had it in my mind that I wanted to do something different in my life. I didn't know exactly what that was. That's why it's kind of amazing where I'm at now and how grateful I am.
Yes. So you're basically just saying that you were talking to a couple people, and at 40, you decided you're going to do this. Obviously, whatever you do, you take to the next level. You know, that's one of your characteristics. And I really like that about you. Everything you do, like when you're doing, like I said, the videos that you're doing, we talk on the phone, you're there for hours. You know what I mean? When we're talking about the show, we got to do this. We got to make sure this is right. But I want to get into it. How do you change? Because like I said, we had these people on the show, right? We had Efren on the show, we had Earl on the show, and they're all still playing and doing that. How do you, because you were one of the best in the world, if not the best one pocket players, right? No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I can say it. I don't know if you want to say that, but I can say it.
I was for a period. There's no question. Yeah,
yes.
I was getting when Cliff was right behind Efren. I gave Cliff 8-7, 9-7. Cliff was playing Efren with 8-7. I gave Cliff 8-7, 9-7. And I didn't lose to Efren playing even. I don't have to lie about that. I'm not going to lie about that. I played him 7 times from whatever year it was, 2004 till 2016, and I beat him all 7 times. I beat Alex the first 3 times we played. And then that's when I started playing poker, because I was lonely and like depressed. I don't get depressed, but I was like regretting everything I'd done in my career, because I didn't have money, and I'm sitting in a rental home. This poor girl's like listening to me complain nonstop, and she's working, and I'm driving her car around town, and it's like embarrassing, right? I was just really in a bad place mentally. So I just started playing poker, and I got a phone call from Alex, like after like 3 months of me playing poker. And he's like, if you want to play, the only way I can get staked is if you play me in Bellflower hard times on my table. And I'm like, I'll be right there. Right. I'm thinking I'm stealing, and I'm such, and I'm like, I'll be right there. I'm literally at a poker table when he calls me. So I get off.
Now, were you playing at this time? I know you.
No, I hadn't played I just mentioned I hadn't played for like 3 months. There was tournaments, there was no action, and I just stayed at home and was in this like rut. And he might have known that too, right? But I get out of I'll never forget. I was at talking stick at the poker table. I cashed whatever little chips I had in, called Billy, called Jack Cooney, and Mark Betour. Mark Betour was Efren's stake horse for a long time. Big guy out west here. And they're like, all right, let's all just go to Bellflower and bet whatever you want to bet. And we went there, and literally we all converged like in 2 days from then. I think I hit balls for a day, and I went there to play Alex at Bellflower on the tight table on Brunswick. And I'd hit some balls on it before we played, like an hour. They put the money up, and Alex proceeds to beat me in like.
How much was this for?
20,000. 20,000. This is back, still a good bet, right? It's back in 2016 or whatever it was. No, it was before that. It was before that, way before that. So it was a good bet. We bet 20,000. He beats me like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But I never did any research on why he was there, what he was doing there. Come to find out, he was playing SVB on that very table. They played for almost 30 straight days, 1,000 a game, for almost 30 straight days. So he'd been playing every day. He had this table dialed in. It was extremely slow. I'll never forget. I cut a ball. If this is my pocket, the cue ball was here, and I just had to get the cue ball back over here for position on another ball down here. And I cut the ball, just rolling it, and it went like that far, right out of the gate. And this was like one of the first games, and it freaked me out. I was like, "What the hell?" And it jarred me, like in a sense where I was like shook. I was all shook up. And he played really good. Credit to him, right? Because when I beat him, and credit to him here too, when I beat him the first 3 times we played at the US Open and wherever else I beat him pretty good, but he hadn't played the game as much as I had. And Alex was always a little better shot maker than I was in our primes. Our primes, I think. I think I ran the balls better, but he was a better shot maker. So this was his time. He beat me, and then it kind of sparked me back to playing again. But up to that point, I'd been unbeaten for many years, playing even. But it kind of sparked me to want to play again. And then he beat me 2 more times. We played that match in Vegas that was 6 days, 148 games,
Yep.
7 ahead. But yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about your mindset, right? Like on the way you're talking about it, you always had things planned, right? You're always kind of figured it out. You had a kind of an edge. You weren't playing, right? You weren't into it. You didn't do your homework on Alex. You obviously didn't know he was playing Shane and all this stuff. Now, why do you think that was, Scott? Was it because of your mindset? You just weren't into it, or because that's obviously why you went there, didn't play your best as well. You weren't on top of your game. Why do you think that is?
I think the truth is that I never thought I always wanted to be one of the best players to ever live or one of the best players in the world. And I never really thought that would happen. And I think the truth is when I finally when I realized I actually was there, it wasn't near as sweet as I thought it would be. And I think that it was kind of a bittersweet time for me. So I think that I think it didn't happen overnight, but I think that I lost a lot of my drive to be what I was, what got me where I was. I think I lost a lot of that.
Because you're thinking about your age, you're already planning about getting out, or because you couldn't find action, or was it all of those things?
All of those things, right? When you're sitting at home and you don't have money and you don't even want to go to your local pool rooms because you don't want to hear it, right? You don't want to hear it. Like I would hear it all the time, and people aspire to be that. They want to be a world-class player, but they didn't know. And, I'm not looking for pity by any means, but I think that this is what physically or mentally happened to me at the time. I would go into a pool room and they'd say, well, what's it like? I heard you beat this guy a few months back. What's it like to be the best player in the world? You are the best player in the world right now, right? And I was kind of like, I don't know. I think I checked out in a lot of different ways, and I just didn't know it at the time because it affected my game too, right? But really what affected my game is when I quit in 2016 after I played Efren and then didn't come back to play till Tony Bloom and Julie Bloom really talked me into it back in like 2022. I played Orcolo in 2017 when I was in construction on the business. He finally
best money players of all time, for sure.
Yeah, I chased him for 8 years, and I announced my retirement early 2017. And like a few months later, he called me out on Facebook, and I'm like, this freaking guy. And I had people behind me that thought I could outrun it, but he was ready, and I wasn't. And that's what it's all about, right? Is being prepared.
Yep. Now going through those times, obviously you had a lot of ups and downs, right? Some huge wins, obviously from beating Efren several times, winning the $1 million. Do you think it was more difficult? Obviously, you got your beautiful girlfriend Erica, who's been with you a long time. How did that affect your relationships, even before Erica, and obviously with Erica? Because it had to be tough for her at times, and also tough for you.
I don't know. I was thinking about this late last night. I worked till like 3:30 this morning. I filmed like 13 hours yesterday and then came home and worked for like 7 hours. I was thinking about it right before I went to bed last night because I had to pick her up at the airport today. I flew her to go see her grandma. She's 94. This girl's a godsend. She's just a godsend. I don't know what I've put her through, but we've got a great relationship. In the early days, she went through it all with me, right? She went through it all with me. She never complained, never said a word, never asked me why I'm leaving. None of that.
Ever told you to quit?
No, 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 no. Yeah, she's always supported everything I've ever done. No matter what it was, what decision, she would just support me. Now, if she thought I was doing something stupid or not right, she would definitely let me know. And she is one person in my life that can put me in my place pretty quickly. She's probably the only one, to be honest with you. What was your question?
That was my question. How was it difficult to have relationships, living the lifestyle that you lived and not being normal? The gambling, the big wins, the big losses, not only the money, the emotional. Like you said, the emotional, you do withdraw yourself to go play poker. And I'm even talking about before Erica with, mostly women. Now I'm not talking about friends right now, just about relationship with women over your pool career. Was it difficult?
Yeah, prior to her, I wasn't the best with women. Prior to her, I was kind of like I wasn't the best.
You can say it. You can say it, Scott.
I'd been around. I used to date girls all over the place back then, way back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so different looking back now. But the very first girl I ever dated, which we haven't touched on, David Matlock and I went to a pool tournament. My girlfriend was 25. This is going to sound weird. I was 19. And I'd come home. I got beaten at the tournament, come home early. And she was in bed with another guy. And I was 19. And it didn't go over too well right then and there. But that devastated me. I actually lost my virginity to this girl. And that devastated me. And she was gorgeous. She was an Italian girl, absolutely gorgeous. But and she knew she made a big mistake, right? But the problem was from there is I just didn't trust women at all. And so I kind of treated women like I did pool, right? It was kind of like a goal of mine to find the hottest girl that a lot of people couldn't get. And then when I did get her, I would leave her. And if you want the truth, that was it. I wasn't like my plan, but I knew I was always moving, right? So I knew once I got her, I was just off.
It was almost like a game. It was almost like a game. You weren't emotionally ready for it, or emotionally wanting what a relationship you were playing a one pocket game, kind of.
Yeah, that's really what it was. And I lived that life all the way up to the moment I met her. And even when I met her, I was still kind of wrapped up in it a little bit. And she changed me. She changed me. She's such a pure, sweet person, wasn't ever after money, hard worker. She changed my life. She changed my life.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I got very lucky 20 years later.
So do you think it's harder as a player to have a relationship? Like I said, for Erica, dealing with those ups and downs, Can we talk about the emotional? Because like you said, you're almost in a depression, right? You're living in an apartment. You're depressed. You're not playing well. How does that affect your relationship?
She'd kill me if I went drunk in here. She'd kill me. She would kill me, dude. I've thought about just grabbing her though and ask her, because I don't really know. We don't talk about that. She was there when I beat Dippy out of the $1 million, and I'll never forget. I had a corner suite at the Aria. It would just opened up, and I threw literally, I don't know how much cash it was, probably like 100,000 in 20s, 50s, and hundreds in this big tub that we had. We just got together. We were just having fun. Yep. So there was good. She was only around me with the good, right? But she was also home alone a lot. So, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about that. That can make me emotional. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Probably not good. Not easy on her. Still not. I'm getting ready to leave I'm getting ready to leave for 2 weeks here in a minute. And then, as you know, come July, I'm gone.
For
I'm not crying. My eyes literally burning because I got a fan blowing in it. But I'm gone for like a month and a half come July to the end of or to the beginning of September.
Yeah, we know we got a busy schedule, and we already have a busy schedule with everything else we got going on.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about some of your friends. Did you have any friends besides the people that steered you or the people that backed you? Um, I'm saying from like 21 to 30. Not talking about pool colleagues, friends. And who would you consider a friend?
When I moved out here, this was a different world from Iowa. And yeah, when I moved out here, there's different places out
This is
here.
tough, right? These are tough questions. This is tough.
Well, because the problem is I hate that one guy that says something in the comments, right? I'm just not good with that. I just don't like it. I don't read the comments. You know, I'm very good at staying away from that. But I'm just going to tell it. I'm going to tell it, and you can believe it. But if you want to question it to me in my face, and we'll just see. And don't worry, there's people you can talk to. But I'm not trying to prove anything because I've never talked about this ever, ever. But I moved here when I was 25, and it was only a couple of years before word got out that I was here and like who I was, like this big money player and one of the best players in the world. And it's a little different down here, right? There's cartels, there's drugs, there's cartels, it's a big city, it's a fast pace. The nightlife here is some of the beautiful women here because of the hot weather. And there was a pool room. Gosh, I got to be careful on what I say here. There was a pool room here. It wasn't a normal pool room. Not normal people that would go to it. And I decided to just pop in there one time. And it's not white people that are in this pool room. It's not black people that are in this pool room either. So I decided to go in this pool room, just stopped in. And there was a guy in there. There was a lot of guys in there. There was a guy in there that was, you could find out pretty quickly that he was like a very powerful guy, a good guy. Or I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, so there was a pool room. I'll show you this picture. I don't know how you can.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's. I can talk about it now. He's in prison. He was like my brother, but we're talking about meeting good people, bad people who were friends, right? He was in this pool room, and he became like a brother to me. But I went down. I'm not saying a good road. I didn't go down the worst road, but he was a really, really powerful guy, and I found myself not with him because he was too smart for it, but with some other bad people. And I'd been through, I used to fight every single night here in town. We'd go to clubs and I would be the one like that couldn't wait to fight. I was just crazy. We ended up.
Sometimes you would instigate it, or you would be.
I mean, if somebody, he was one of the most powerful people here, right? And to the point where when I was out of town, he had a big entourage with him, like big. And so when I was out of town, he was so close to me that if she wanted to do something, he's the only one that I would let her go with because I knew she was safe, literally like really safe. But anyway, yeah, I would drink a lot, right? We would party all the time when I was in town. And this was during those down times where I'd gotten robbed when I was 25. It was 1999. I just moved out here and things started moving quickly out here. I was like, life was fast and I got into some of the wrong people probably.
What time frame period was that? and when was it the worst? What year are we talking? When was the worst? And how long of a period was it? And before you started?
Probably a 10-year period from like 27 to 36, 35, 37.
Okay, so a good portion. a good
Yeah.
portion of your
Yeah.
adult life.
It's probably been 15 years since I really started making a change and I
What
had
made
to,
you what made you change?
well, I knew that the people around me were getting too big. And, I knew the people around me were getting too big. And so him, like him, he was like a boss, right? And I told him, I said, listen, he had shut down a big club and had a flyer built. He was holding like $100,000 in his flyer for his birthday party, and everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. Wasn't some cold-blooded killer. This isn't the guy, but he was a very powerful guy. He was such a nice guy. But I told him, I said, dude, I have way too much to lose. I cannot. The people that you're starting to allow around you and your entourage and all this, I said, I cannot. I know that you're being looked at. I know there's no chance that you're not on their radar. And he would look at me and he would say, Scott, you play pool for a living. This is what I do, right? This is what I know. This is what I do. I'm willing to face the consequences if something happens. And that was really the moment when I got away. I said, I'm going to have to step back and get away. And the feeling in my gut was so strong around that time that.
That's so real what he said, Scott. What he said was real, right? That's why. Because what he said to you was, you play pool, yeah, you do other stuff on the side, but you're still a pool player, and he does what he does. And
I couldn't argue what he asked me. What he said to me, I couldn't argue, right? Because it's true. And his family was raised in it. They had a ranch in Mexico. He had property in Mexico, and but I cared about him, right? Like, if you knew him, he was a really good person, and I cared about him. But I told him, I said, I have to step back, and I'm distance myself. And ironically, how long has it been? God, it's been over a decade, well over a decade. Ironically, about, like I said, I was probably 36 or 37. It was about a year after I stepped back that the world came crashing down on him. It was actually a big deal too. Helicopters, all sorts of things, and, a big deal. And so I'll tell people, I got served with the biggest conspiracy case in Arizona history. Fact. Arizona history, and I was second on the list. I got dismissed of all charges. They didn't have anything on me. They couldn't prove anything. I had a really good attorney. I got dismissed of all charges. They dropped them. I came home from a tournament one day, and this was on our apartment door. It was about that thick. This paperwork was about that thick. They didn't knock the door in or anything. It was waiting on me. And I think her and I, wherever we were, I can't remember. I would have to ask her if we were at a tournament where we were. But I thought then, and this was a year after I'd gotten away from them. Just imagine if I.
So you're done. You think you're done, right? At that point.
Oh yeah. But not really, because I knew.
Right. That's why you were talking about it.
Yeah, but not really, right. But anyway, so long story short, but I went through a lot of. I partied a lot. Like when I was home, I wanted the fast life and the girls and all the fun stuff. Cars, the girls, the jewelry, the money, strip clubs, all that stuff.
What's the most money? What's the most money you ever spent at a strip club in one night? I'm serious.
I didn't get dances, so I always had a rule. I never got dances in a strip club. Okay. And anybody that ever went with me anywhere on the East Coast or anywhere would know I didn't get dances, because a real hot dancer, the minute she dances for you, you got no chance with her. Right, no chance. They know you're absolutely.
Look at a lot of the sports athletes for sure.
They know you're a straight sucker if they start dancing for you. So I would just throw money when I liked a girl. But one night I had 50,000 in ones at Jaguars here, with the crew that I was with, and there was another crew.
How much in ones?
50,000.
$50,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you left, how much did you have?
I had like 40 when I left in the ones. I ended up not doing it because it got ugly. There was this other crew here, just another crew of people. Like, I don't want to say the words, but there was another crew, and we almost got into it, and because the guy was like trying to show me out and out, and
Right.
my team was like, see here, out here in Arizona, there's a lot of guns, right? Like, grandma's carrying a gun at the Fry's grocery
Right.
store. There's a lot of guns, like a lot. Everybody's carrying a gun. I have a gun with me everywhere I go. I have three right by my bed.
Yep.
I have a pistol, a sawed-off shotgun, and an AK. Never used them. Don't need to. Thank God. But that's just my life. But here, so in those clubs, things happened a lot. And I'm just so lucky. I think
I think
that's
you're
what.
a little smarter than most too, though. Like I think you like that in life for the most part. You see what's going on, you see the writing on the wall. So I got to give you a lot of credit for that. I think you,
Well, but I still put myself in some really bad
of
positions.
course,
But there's
of
a
course.
reason. I guess that's why I'm talking about this, because I'm just a completely different person now, and it's true. It's true. I'm not that person anymore. And when I was a kid, before I found pool, I'm not saying pool was the fault, but what came with it might have been, or the choices I made might have had something to do with it. But I was like an innocent kid from a great a blue collar family that were just
Yep.
normal people, and I feel now that I relate closer to everybody in my family, my father, and my real roots are coming out of me, which is sad in a lot of ways because I wish I'd have made these decisions a long time ago. But at 50 years old, I've got so many projects going on, and I've got money coming at me from every different way, and I'm doing better than I've ever done, which is great. Not that I haven't had more money in the past, but I didn't respect it. Now I work my ass off for my money, and I just wish I would have made these decisions a lot sooner. I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm grateful for who I am. I can literally look myself in the mirror and be proud of myself, and that's where I'm at now.
It's important. That's a big deal. I want to talk a little bit about the
Not proud
sport.
of some of the things I've done, though. I'll make sure and say that. Yeah.
Course, of course. And like I said, I tell you this too. You're doing great. I love what you're doing. Um, and that's the whole reason why we're talking about this in the beginning. Like you're doing something. It's almost Jeremy Jones is doing it as well. But it's to take a career, especially one like yours. Like even Michael Jordan, right? He couldn't coach basketball, right? He had to go on and do something different, and now he's doing great in racing. But it's a different mindset, and for whatever reason you have it, and thank God you do um, because you could still play, and I think there's some point you might go out and play. Do you think that's a possibility?
My dominant eye has a terminal condition. I've told you this. I'm just so people know, I'm not lying. Like I didn't want to talk about it for years. I have glasses everywhere. I have more around here. And these are like blind person glasses. I cannot see or read. About a decade ago, my game changed. And sadly, the time this drives me crazy. Sadly, the timing of social media and footage and all that has gotten out. And these big tournaments I played towards the end, I played a very tight style of one pocket, and I was completely the opposite coming up. But I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was playing tight. I didn't know why I was passing up shots. I didn't know why I was using my mind to beat people versus my aggression. I was a powerful player. When I saw that offensive shot, I took it and I played the numbers, right? Even if I missed that shot, if I knew I was a favorite to make it and it came up next game, I'm going to shoot it again. Because if I'm a favorite to make it, the numbers don't lie. Sooner or later, it's just going to overpower the person. But I started passing those up, just passed them up, and something in my body was telling me why, or telling me to pass it up, and I didn't know why. But I ended up talking to my team, and they said, "You need to probably just go see an eye doctor," and I did. And at the time, I think I've already mentioned this. At the time, Bustamante had LASIK surgery about a decade ago. LASIK, and I talking to him later. It only lasted about a year, but I'll never forget him coming fresh off that LASIK surgery. He was a demon, and like won all these tournaments and this stuff. So that was my goal, right? I figured I'd go to an eye doctor, I'd qualify for LASIK. Well, he is a top eye doctor here. They do the test. He walks in, and I'll never forget, he literally slammed the paperwork down. He says, anybody that operates on you ought to be in prison tomorrow. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, if you were to have LASIK done to you right now, you've got like a 90% chance of going blind immediately in your dominant eye. And so the word starts with a C. And I could pull the paperwork up. I haven't looked at it since I've been there because it was pretty shitty news for me.
Yeah, of course.
I knew something was wrong. Because I couldn't read the digital microwave or the clock on the oven or the stove.
Yep.
So I knew something was really wrong, and that's what it was. So I held that in. I didn't say anything to anybody for a long time. Couldn't get LASIK, and I'm damn sure not wearing popsicle glasses or those Coke bottle glasses when I'm playing pool, right? It just doesn't. I don't even wear these, and I need to because my eyes are always hurting. But this eye has a real bad, and that's my dominant eye. I always played directly under my left eye, so that's what happened. And so, I'm just so lucky that I'm where I'm at now.
So, yeah, I mean, you're still really young. I mean, you're 50 years
I'm
old.
50. That's not
You're
young.
50. That's still pretty young. And so, at what point are you going to start playing the senior route where you're going to just do exhibitions, and stuff like that? Because the hard question I guess I'm getting at is because I get a lot of questions. Is Scott going to play again? Does Scott want to play?
Why does somebody want to see me run balls into the rim? That's no good. I can't play. I don't play like I did, right? And that's the problem. Is like I can't play like I did. And it's frustrating because what happened in the later part of my career when you got somebody like and I'm not going to be rude, Chip Compton, great player. But in my prime, I gave him 8-7 something, 8-7, 9-7, and beat him like 15 games. And those guys avoided me, and he beat me playing even for like $100,000 in my own pool room. And I'm not making excuses, but I was a shadow of myself in the last. I was still a great player, not knocking Chip, but they're at the highest level. When you just drop down a tick, you're now where everybody else is. Right? You don't.
Absolutely. I agree. So there's a very small percentage of people up in that level.
I can't stomach that. So that's just who I am. I can't stomach that. I don't miss it. Because the pain of not playing the way I did for so long was more. That pain of knowing that I can't play the way I did was more. So I tortured myself. You and I had Earl on the show. And I know he's going through it, but he doesn't know anything else, right? I tried to hint to him, maybe.
He talked about it a little bit in the show. He kind of broke down a little bit about possibly being there.
Well, the thing is, he's not going to tell you how much he really is there. I know how much he's there. I can tell in his words. And he's seriously struggling with it. He's been struggling with it for a long time. He's in his 60s, dude. It's true. You don't see, I don't know if you believe this or not, but you don't see elite athletes in the NBA.
Oh, no. I get it 100%. And I know the people out there get it.
You don't see them at 40 for a reason, right?
What gave you that mindset to be able to do that, though? That's the question I'm asking. To be able to say, all right, can't do this anymore. I'm going to do something else in the pool world and get involved.
The pain that I had was too heavy for me. People don't realize it, but I'm harder on myself, and that's maybe why I'm so strong in the public eye. But I'm harder on myself behind there. Not like I have depression or anything.
Everything.
I'm not
on everything, by the way.
Yeah, but I'm not like a depressed type guy. But I just want everything perfect, right? Like I want everything perfect, and it'll never be that way. You've told me this over and over. She deals with me all the time in that aspect, right? The house. I mean, I've never stopped working around the house. I mean, it drives her crazy. Like I don't eat sitting down. I don't do anything sitting down. But my whole point is the pain. The reason it was easier for me to just stop, and by some miracle, I backdoored into commentating with Matchroom, and I owe Carl Boys and Jeremy Jones for accepting me in that world. I owe them a world of it, right? Without Tony and Julie Bloom, I wouldn't have been at that event and had that transition happen, even though that wasn't a goal in the back of my mind. Many people pushed for me to be a part of that. And so I owe so many people. I'm so grateful for where I'm at. But the pain leading up to that, they had to twist my arm to go play that U.S. Open, Tony and Julie Bloom. They had to twist my arm to go play it, right? And then the further I got into that tournament, the better I started playing, the more comfortable I got because it's rotation. But then I had that issue with Hunter Lombardo, right? And then one thing led to another. And I don't know what's happened in the last 5 years. It's like been a tornado. Like I just decided, you know what? I got this chance to commentate with Matchroom. I'm going to take full advantage of it and work my absolute ass off. And that's what I did. And I told her right after I got the commentary job and I knew I was going to start going to most of the events, I said, our lives are going to change. And every time I told her that, she listened to me. And whatever I told her I was going to do within a 2-year period, I did execute it. So.
What do you owe to this game? And I want to know who I know, but I want to let the people out there know who are some of the famous people that you met, and is it mostly because of pool? And can you appreciate the relationships that you made with some of these people?
Yeah, but not so much about the famous people, right? Like I think I owe the people that I've crossed paths with in my career. I owe them a good product, kind of. I guess what I'm saying. Whether it be Hilltop Promotions and Shane playing Fed, or me commentating, or me helping promote it, or whether it be me commentating for Matchroom, or whether it be me teaching. Whatever I do, I feel like I owe the sport. I owe the juniors coming through. I feel like I have to make my mark in a different way going out, right? I know that my time is limited, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is. So I feel like I owe that. As far as famous people, I got to know Shaq real well. Floyd Mayweather really, really well. His bodyguard was the guy that collected the money with Dippy and me. And Joe Rogan, right? Joe and I were pretty good friends. I mean, we weren't best friends, but we were really good friends for a long time. When he signed with Spotify, things kind of like slipped away a little bit, but I went my own way. He stayed busy. But Joe's, I think Joe knows how we stand, and he's made a massive impact on the sport. And I think he's yet to do even bigger things. So I've made a lot of great relationships, but you know me. I'm not that guy.
That's what I want to talk about. It's funny that you're saying that, like, you want to make your mark now. Like your mark is already made. You know what I mean? Like all the people, the connections that you made, and the friendships that you built over your long career, and continue even though after you stop playing. You know what I mean? Like the people you talk to, all the people that you know, the relationships that you built, are not just because of what you're doing now. It's because of what you did before, and it's the person that you are. Even though you went through some rough times and stuff like that, what you did with these people. And I know a lot of them are friends, and you take time to always make sure you know the person's name and know about them. You know what I mean? That's not by accident. It's because you do care and you want to give them the best version of yourself. Am I wrong?
No. But I think a lot of that has to do with I was a pretty cold guy for a long time, and that was by design, right? Like not cold, like people. I still had a wild personality and funny and fun, but yeah, I think I feel for me, I just want to make a difference in a different light, and I want to be. I've never been happier in my life, even though overworked myself. That's all I've done. People can believe it or not, but I just don't stop. For me, though, I've never been happier, never been more at peace with knowing that every day, and this has been lasting for a long time now, that I'm doing the right thing. And everything is the right thing in my life, right? So that's a good feeling.
I got a couple more rough questions for you. I love what you just said about you had to act the person, right? You had to act like people you liked, right? How much of that was an act? In I don't know the right way to word this is, but like, can you tell who the difference between your friends are and who are not your friends?
Now,
Now, throughout your career, throughout your last 20 years, like I said, you had to put an act on, Scott, like you said, right? You had to be liked, you had a personality, right? Now you said you changed, you're a new person. Um, Going back over time, do you know who was there for you because of Scott or there because you were the best one pocket player
I don't
or
know.
something else?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was always a motive for somebody to be around me, right? That was probably a lot of it. I don't know. There was probably always a motive. I don't. I don't. I don't hang out with anybody anymore.
Yep.
Right? So I live a pretty quiet life.
Shout out
Um,
to Erica.
yeah. So I don't know though. I don't know if they were around me for money or there was a motive there. Um, I don't know. The one relationship, the relationships I had with my peers, the players, like uh, they were pure, right? As far as the ones I
Yep.
wasn't trying to play, I had really good relationships with several of them. Even if we did play, we had pure relationships because we just knew. I mean, a lot of them went through some of the things I went through. They didn't have kind of the street life that I had. I'm positive of that, but other than that, yeah. Yeah, I don't know that any of it was real, really real. And that's something that I really enjoy now too, because I know the people that I'm working with and the people that I'm around, they don't need me for money, right? The people I'm around now don't need me for money, so it's a whole different ballgame.
Have you ever beat somebody so bad that you felt bad?
Yeah, I felt bad a lot.
And how did you handle that? How did you approach it? And can you
Well,
elaborate on any of those
two
stories
different.
where
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
took? Go ahead.
I felt bad when I beat Dippy out of money, even though he called her the N word. She's half black, half Thai in front of me. And that was towards the end of me beating him out all that money. But I still felt bad for him because I, I think I was close to destroying his life, which, I didn't like it, truly didn't like it. Um, I feel bad. I felt bad for a lot of people I beat. Harry Plattis was kind of like a father to me, right? Harry Plattis, a legendary attorney in Seattle, and I would go up there. And even though he had a budget, he had like $1 million a year budget from his wife to play pool. Every time I beat him, he was just such a nice guy. I felt bad. I felt bad. Oh, you probably won't believe this. I felt bad like after, while I'm playing them, I wanted to just destroy them. I just wanted everything they had. But when it was over and I'm in my room, I felt bad. I didn't like. I don't know. It was a weird thing. Yeah. And unless I didn't really like the person for like some reason or had it out
Right.
for.
You had a
Yeah.
little chip on your shoulder with them.
Well, a lot of people gave me reasons to want to beat them, right? Or I would find a reason.
And that's my that was going to be my question. I'm sure great players like I talked to Michael Jordan, you have to find sometimes to be the best to have a little chip, right? You can't just go in lovey dovey into a match. You had to be, and I know you talked about your pregame all the time and what you did. You had to be mentally ready to be the best players in the world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only reason I had to play Efren was that he was the greatest ever, and I never found anything I didn't like about him. He was the only player, really, probably, that I ever played that I didn't have to find something I didn't like to play him because I always felt like against him, if I lost, I didn't care because it was him. So what could somebody say? Oh, he got beat by Efren. What an idiot! Like, well, go. What are you talking about, right? So that's how I looked at it. I was just never scared of him. So for him, it was different. But for a lot of people, if I was specifically targeting you, there was a reason I was targeting you, and there was something I probably didn't much care for, and I was probably going to expose that during our match at one point or another.
I know you talked a little bit about pool took you to a dark place for a little bit, Have you seen this game destroy other people, their lives completely?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And do you think you said earlier you were a little lucky that you got through it? You think that was part of it, or your mindset? But what about this game can destroy you? Is it the gambling, or is it sometimes just the American way? Because we have bad, obviously, history with the sport. As far as drinking and drugs and all the hustling. And I want to ask a couple more questions about that too. But what do you think is the reason why people destroy themselves in this game?
Well, like Joe Rogan said, right? Joe said, well, these guys will go somewhere and be betting $500,000 or whatever the case may be.
A guy named Scott Frost, who's a friend of mine,
Yeah.
who's like one of the biggest one pocket players of all time. Guarantee you, Scott Frost has gambled over the course of his life. Millions of dollars have changed hands with Scott Frost playing
Really?
one pocket. Yeah, he's like one of the best one pocket players, like literally ever. And these guys are playing. They'll meet up in Kentucky. They'll have stake horses, and then people on the rail. So all the people that are watching are gambling
They're
as
all-
well. So you might have there might be a set that's being played for $500,000.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
You could be betting up to that. It's stressful, right? It's truly stressful. Like anything else, I get it. Working is stressful, but this is different. I think the problem is that there's a lot of downtime, right? There's a lot of downtime. Whereas if somebody's working a 9 to 5, it's pretty consistent. You're doing the same thing over and over. You have downtime, and in that downtime, and you're stressed, and maybe you lost the last big money match you played, and all it really takes is to go out one night and find the wrong crowd, and the wrong crowd find you, and you start to make the wrong friends. Basically, what I'm getting at there is drugs. In my era, I lost a lot of friends that way. A lot of great players. I'm not going to name names. I just won't. But there was a lot of great players that didn't make it, didn't die. Some of them did die. Some of them did die. George Sansucci, one of them.
Or Skinky, for sure.
Was a really, really good. He and I towards the end were really good friends. But there's many more. So I think that's it. Probably you have a lot of downtime to stew over your decisions. And I don't think there's too many pool players back then. Now there's so much to play, and these prime players, these elite players, are making so much money or doing well with sponsorships. God bless them, and the tournament money. That it's a whole different world now. But that wasn't the way it was. When you had the Derby City Classic as one of the biggest tournaments on the card for the year, you're not going to make a big living.
Yep, that's true. You were just talking a little bit about drugs. We mentioned this on CJ's show. I wanted to bring it up a little bit. I learned a little bit about this. I heard about it, but I really didn't know about it. I guess you players call it jarring. You can jar somebody or make them actually drug the person that you're playing for money. Can you elaborate on that? And has that happened to you, or have you seen it done somebody against you on your team? Has that ever happened?
Typically, yeah. So it's called scopolamine, and I can kind of go. I haven't until CJ and I were talking about it. I hadn't heard about it or thought about it for a while, but I did just see something on social media a few months back about it. Typically, a top player's I've never heard of a top player having it in their crew. They didn't need it, right? That never happened. But it was, guys like me, where we made the money, I didn't make the money going and playing Earl Strickland and Johnny Archer. That's not where I made my money. I made my money going and beating guys that liked pool but made money doing other things and had money. Those were the real scores. And those guys could, at times, have somebody with them, and did have somebody with them a lot of times that would carry tabs of scopolamine, syringes of scopolamine, and they would try and put it in your drink, and we called it jar. And two confirmed times I was jarred, and I know there was at least 3 that I was jarred for sure. But what it would do, and if you guys want to look up scopolamine, it's big now in Asia. The girls over there are, especially with tourists, the girls over there are befriending you and then you'll go to dinner or whatever. And she gets you back to your hotel room. And the next thing you know, you wake up the next day with your money, your pants, your watch, your gold, your jewelry, everything gone. If you live, sometimes they overhit you, and you won't live. So yeah, it's a drug that will. I guess it's a drug that will make you, especially when you're playing pool. I could describe it, but we've been talking 2 hours. I didn't know it. Um, you feel great. You feel like you are in the zone. You feel like you're dialed in, and you can't make a ball. But nobody can pull you up. Nobody can stop you. I have I have I know. We used to travel with coolers, our own
You
coolers.
you said one time that you actually know for sure that you actually ended up losing, right? You lost.
Yeah, yeah. There was a guy,
Right.
Ronnie Wiseman was with me at the time.
Yeah.
We were on the road together, and Ronnie knew that they had done it to me. I don't know how he knew, but he told me. He said they put something in that birthday cake. Um, I can name names here because he just passed away. This guy was also involved with the heavy hitting Italians. It was Big Daddy's pool room in Ocala, Florida. His name was Butch, and he actually dealt directly with John Gotti. John Gotti, uh, John the Don, right? But he dealt directly with him. But his wife, Butch's wife, would hit the mark with scopolamine. And I didn't know it. I was like 22 or 23 when we were down there playing Tony Baloney, another Italian. But I'd been playing this guy, and there was a different guy that wanted to play. His name was Cowboy, and this pool room was upstairs. And it was somebody's birthday, or somebody had a birthday, and I think her name was Debbie or Julie, Butch's wife, the owner of the pool room, Big Daddy's wife. She offered me some birthday cake, and I'm just sitting there at the counter, nothing to do. And I'm like, heck yeah, that looked good, right? And I scarfed it down. And like a half hour later, this cowboy, this older one pocket player, come up into the room and asked me if I want to play. And Ronnie's like, don't do it. And I cannot remember for the life of me how I knew that this had happened. But the word was that I got jarred. But I felt normal. And so I argued with Ronnie and somebody else that was kind of like with us. And I argued with him. And I kept telling him, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And I ended up losing every quarter I had that I had on me. I gave Ronnie some of my money as an insurance play. And he sat there and watched it for as long as he could. This is true story. Ron Wiseman's still alive. And it was just the weirdest thing. But the other time I got hit with jar, they overdid it. I was really sick. I was in the hospital for 2 days. I got immediately sick. They put way too much in. That was Flyboy. He's dead too.
Scary because if they too much, like I said, you could probably die, right? Or it can't be good for you or have permanent damage
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a big thing then. I've got to be honest. I don't want to get like people freaked out about this. I don't think that's a thing now. I really don't. I don't know of it. I've not heard it. And I hear of everything. I get phone calls all the time. I'm betting on matches sometimes just for entertainment. I don't think this is a viable thing anymore. I don't think people are doing this, and I don't want to bring it back. I don't even know that it's good to talk about it, to be honest with you. But it was something that was real back then, but it was so common back then, to the point where it was like almost in every pool room.
All right, Scott, I got one more question before I let you go. Something pretty simple, I think, for you. Maybe not. I don't know. You being involved, like I said, I appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate your mindset. And I can't get over how you can do what you do, being the best one pocket player of all time, and being at the top of your game to be involved still in the sport, right? And I think this is why a lot of people can't do it. We get a lot of criticism, right? We got people that chat online, you got people that talk. You can hear, people in the background or whatever. How do you deal with that? I know you said you try not to read the comments because no matter what you do, you know what I mean? Like even Michael Jordan, LeBron, they all have haters, right? You're going to have people that are going to say something about you, whether it's in the chat or somewhere else. How do you really deal with that? And how does that make you feel?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is somebody that's saying that honestly probably not happy with themselves. Like if I could respond and to somebody's comment, I would tell them to just go look in the mirror, right? I'm just being dead honest. I'm serious though.
Yep.
because I was that guy. I used to do that. I used to make comments if I saw something I didn't like or somebody I didn't like, I'd go make a comment, and I wasn't in the best place mentally. So I'm being dead serious. I typically, if you've got somebody, one of those guys, and they're commonly doing that, it's typically they've got their own issues, right? Otherwise, we all have opinions, and what we could be doing or what I could be doing might be right, might be wrong. But most people aren't out there just calling you out for it or saying it. They know I'm doing the best I can. They might not like what I'm doing, but they're not out there like commenting, saying, "Well, we know that, and you're wrong," and this and that. 90% of them just let it go, or 99% of them. So I typically feel like the ones that are saying that are the ones that need the most help, in my opinion.
It's fantastic, and for you even to say it, to acknowledge it, because it's got to be, like I said, so hard coming from somebody at your level. I can't even imagine it, because you beat the king of the giants, and you did what you need to do, and to have somebody say something that is the bottom of the barrel, if you know what I mean. They probably don't even do APA 3 or something like that. Has to be hard to deal with a little bit, and I give you a lot of credit for
I
that.
really don't read the comments. I will go on our show and breeze through them sometimes because I want to get better with what we're doing here. But I truly don't read the comments. I don't even go through Facebook. I'll go through Instagram sometimes, but not Facebook.
Scott, what's next? What's the big plan? What are we doing? Scott Frost 2026. What do we got?
I'm releasing a huge thing during the Federer and Shane match, a huge project I've been working on since truly 2017. It's global, and I think it'll help everybody. My timing and everything's tied together so well with all the teaching I've been doing, and I truly feel like I've learned so much and worked so hard with teaching, and I feel like I'm in dead stroke with teaching. I completely understand what's happening. I completely understand what people need, and I know that there's a right and wrong way. I know it's very simple. So we're coming out with something called Unshakable Performance, and it's a 30-day course with a $9.99 a month optional subscription with a couple of videos a month. It's big. It's a big course, very in depth. So I'm working on that, and I'm working with these guys, Hilltop Promotions, Stephen and Joey Tucker, which you're invited to the match, and unbelievable people. And this is a big project. It's taken a lot of time. Been filming the last couple of days for Unshakable. Been working on this nonstop for the last year and a half or so. It's like 160 hours of content. There's 3 tiers, so people understand, just so you kind of get an idea. There's 3 tiers: core, pro, and elite. And they're all different levels. And we cover everything from A to Z. And it's the modern era of fundamentals. And it's very simple. It's what the pros do. And if the pros can do it, the amateurs can do it. There is no other right or wrong way. We know that this is 100% what the Europeans are doing and how they're running, just about the footwork, the shot line, and the cueing. And it's not rocket science, but there's so much information out there. The problem is that it's like, what do you believe? So you have to, even if you don't go with what I'm talking about, you have, whatever you find, you have to stick with it. You can't try something 1 month and then search for another Band-Aid next month and then go for that. It's just will not work. You have to find something that you buy into and you believe, and you have to stay with that. You cannot continue to jump around to all these videos. I would go insane. And then, so we're working on that, then the podcast, and then I've got a business off to the side that I'm partners with. So I've got like four big things I'm doing.
And that thing you're talking about with the lessons and stuff, you showed it to me a couple of times, and I heard it, and it's something that blew me away. And I've been in the business a long time. I've seen everything from contraptions, how to make your shoot better, to same strokes every single time, to gimmicks. You know what I mean? This is something that's different, Scott. This is something that you guys are putting together that's next level. And when I took it, I think I remember I told you it blew me away. I'm excited to see it pop out when it comes out. It's gonna be fantastic, and I think it's really gonna help the pool community learn a little bit and get a little bit better. So really, really good job with that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, there's a lot of affirmations. It's a positive self-talk course, right? It's what I've learned when I did my preparation. It's what I've learned since I've worked with these elite players as far as the fundamentals and what they all have in common. And it's just an accumulation of really in-depth, very real stuff. And nobody else has done anything like this. I can say.
I agree 100%. And, you're going away this week. You got a busy schedule. I can't wait for the Hilltop match with Shane Van Boney and Fedor. A lot of big stuff. Our show is absolutely on fire. I mean, some of the guests we had, the CJ Wiley show, is going to probably be aired before this one. Even John Lehman, the referee, was great. Tom Brady, I should call him. But, the show's going great. You're doing big things, and I'm super proud of you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you get some rest, though, Scott, because you're a very, very busy guy. You're always on the road. You got to take care of yourself and Erica.
Yeah. Thanks, bud. Yeah. Headed off in the morning. SVB and I are going to Vegas, but I know this will air later. We're doing something for the VNEA, and grateful. Shout out to the VNEA. And shout out to Q Armor. Okay. Q Armor, please check them out. QArmor.com. They are the supplier of the T-shirts for the Fedor Shane Van Boney match. They're making us a large number of T-shirts. They're giving them away, and they're here to stay. They're not taking over. They're here to stay and take over. QArmor.com. Please check them out. Doing big things. They have a huge player list in their stable, so appreciate them. Obviously, we have another sponsor. It's Brunswick Tables, right? Brunswick's gotten behind us. Bobby got behind you, and pretty grateful for that.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the near future. We're going to be doing a raffle where somebody's actually going to have a chance to get a brand new Brunswick Gold Crown 6 8-foot table. Beautiful table. We're talking about installation, delivery, everything. I think we're going to do $100 a spot. We'll figure that out, but you guys are going to check that out real soon. We'll make a flyer and show you how to pay for it and all that stuff. But we're talking about a brand new Brunswick Gold Crown 6 8-foot. It's absolutely amazing. I'm telling you, for $100 delivery setup, it's going to be amazing, Scott.
Yeah, and we were talking about throwing in another $500 cash to help with everything.
Yeah, so we will deliver the table right to your house, and we'll throw you $500 cash to get it installed and set up. So you're talking, I want to say it's an over $12,000 table with all the soup to nuts. It's a gorgeous table, and you can get it delivered to your house plus installation for $100 chance. It's a no-brainer. Scott and I will put that together, so you guys will see that real soon, and I expect it to sell pretty quick, Scott. I really do.
No, excited. Thank you to Brunswick for the sponsorship and partnership. Looking forward to giving that table away to the public. I can't believe we talked this long. I know that I've got a pack and a lot going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I truly don't feel like these episodes with me, you push me to do it. I truly don't feel like
I'm telling you,
telling Erica in the background, I'm like, these people are probably thinking we're filling gaps, just trying to fill gaps. And I promise
Scott,
you,
your episodes are always the top viewers. You always get the top viewers, and this one was probably a little more in depth than the other ones. I mean, you said a lot of stuff on this episode, so I know that people are going to enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, and I can imagine we can do this again a couple more times as we touch the surface of your career. Like I said, I think a movie-like career, if I can call it that, because that's truly what it is. It's truly what it is.
cool, man. Thank you.